Yeah, I said what I said. Stick with me here because the 2026 Kia K4 Hatchback GT Line Turbo is one of those cars that sneaks up on you, and by the time you realize what's happening, you're already in love. Let's start with the elephant in the room. This thing is wide. Like, really wide? At 72.8 inches across, the K4 hatch is nearly 2 to 3 inches broader than a Honda Civic hatch, a Toyota Corolla hatch, a Mazda 3, and a Subaru Impreza. That's not a small number. That's the kind of width that turns heads in a parking lot and makes you walk back just to look at it one more time. And honestly, Kia uses every single inch of that width brilliantly. The styling on this car is sharp, confident, and genuinely exciting, something you really can't say about most cars in this segment. Only the Mazda 3 even comes close to matching it on looks. Now you might be thinking, okay, cool, it looks good, but how does it actually drive? And this is where things get really interesting. That wide stance isn't just for show. It gives the K4 a best-in-class track width, and paired with 235/40 R18 Kumho tires, this car grips the road like it means business. We're talking 0.88 grams of lateral grip that's matching or beating almost everything in the segment except the Honda Civic Sport Touring, which edges it out by a tiny margin. On the Figure 8 course, the K4 ties the Honda at 26.8 seconds but actually beats it on average G-force, 0.67 versus Honda's 0.65. Only the Mazda 3 hatches are quicker around that course, and they've always been the class athletes. So that's no shame. The steering is light. Maybe a little too light for the hardcore enthusiasts, but it's precise, pointy. You aim this car where you want it to go, and it goes there. Yes, you'll feel some bumps crash through more than you would in a Honda or Mazda, and the chassis occasionally shakes in a way that tells you those extra reinforcements for the open hatchback body weren't totally perfect. But here's the thing, the brakes. Phenomenal. 62.0 in just 110 feet. The Honda needs 117 feet. The Mazda needs up to 123. That's a serious advantage. When it actually matters, under the hood sits a 1.6-liter, turbocharged four-cylinder making 190 horsepower and 195 pounds-ft of torque, hooked up to an 8-speed torque converter automatic. 0 to 60 comes in 7.0 seconds flat, and the quarter-mile wraps up at 15.4 seconds at 92.6 mph. That puts it ahead of every naturally aspirated competitor in the class by a solid margin, about a second ahead of the slowest ones. So yes, it's genuinely quick for a mainstream hatchback, and there's always a but, don't walk into this expecting a hot hatch experience. The K4 Turbo isn't a GTI. It isn't a Civic Type R or a GR Corolla. Those cars are in a different emotional league, and they cost $10,000 more for a reason. The K4 can feel a little lazy when you're just driving around town in normal mode. The gearing is taller than you'd expect, clearly tuned for fuel economy numbers rather than neck-snapping response. Switch it into sport mode and things wake up considerably, but even then, this is a warm hatch, not a hot one. If you need that fire-breathing feeling in your daily driver, you'll want to keep saving. Inside, the K4 is genuinely a pleasant place to spend time. The two large screens look great, offer customizable themes, and can even stream YouTube when you're parked, which is a fun party trick. The black and white Syntax upholstery gives it a premium feel that punches above its price point. Front and rear passengers get solid comfort and space, and the cargo area with seats folded is actually the best in its class. The optional tech package adds ventilated seats, a heated steering wheel, ambient lighting, and a digital key for $2,300, and honestly, it's worth every cent. A few things do nag a little. The infotainment takes longer than it should to fully boot up. The car forgets what you were listening to every time you shut it off. And the highway driving assist lane change function requires a weirdly specific touch. Too much input and it cancels, too little and it complains you're not holding the wheel. These aren't deal breakers, but they're the kind of things you notice after a few weeks of daily driving. So, is the 2026 Kia K for Hatchback GT Line Turbo worth $33,000? Here's the honest answer. If you're a pure performance chaser who needs every ounce of hot hatch soul in your car, you'll probably want to stretch for the GTI and move on. But if you want something that looks incredible, handles surprisingly well, stops on a dime, offers real everyday usability, and turns heads literally everywhere it goes, the K for Hatch is a genuinely compelling choice. It's wide, it's a little heavy, and it knows exactly what it is. Not a track weapon, not a grocery getter either. Something right in the middle, dressed to impress, and surprisingly hard to walk away from. That's not a bad place to be at all.